The Italian Mafia is working with Chinese criminals, and the Chinese government is in on it. Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Travel. The Chinese Communist Party is expanding its global influence, and nowhere is that more clear than in Italy. China is taking control of just about everything in Italy. Everything from drones, to robotics, to semiconductors, to so much more. Even policing in Italy. A little ironic China is setting up those police stations because the Chinese regime is also co-opting crime in Italy. Chinese gangs have been encroaching on the Italian mafia's turf since at least the 1990s. They thrive in Italy's Chinese communities, committing all sorts of crimes such as tax evasion, counterfeiting, organized prostitution, and selling stolen goods. They're especially good at money laundering. According to Bank of Italy data, money officially sent from Italy to China went from over 2.5 billion euros in 2012 to just 22 million euros in 2021. That's a drop of 99%. That means a big chunk is now being illegally laundered. The more Italian police look, the more Chinese crime they uncover. For example, in 2010, Italian police nabbed 24 people, 17 of whom were Chinese, for laundering over $3 billion. And in 2018, Italy arrested 33 people connected to a Chinese mafia that dominated the transport of Chinese goods across Europe. But these crimes aren't just being done by isolated, ethnically Chinese criminals. Many of these crimes are being done with help from official Chinese government entities. In 2015, the Bank of China, one of China's largest state-owned banks, smuggled more than $5 billion from Italy to China over the course of 5 years. These were proceeds from crimes such as counterfeiting, embezzlement, exploitation of illegal labor, and tax evasion. The Bank of China got half of it. But the investigation was stymied by the Chinese government. Not really a government you should be wanting closer ties with. So how are Chinese criminals operating in Italy? Many are involved in what's called underground or shadow banks. A recent arrest of 2 Chinese individuals operating an electronics store in Florence gives a picture of what that looks like. In that case, Chinese entrepreneurs operating in the leather and clothing sector transferred money through intermediaries authorized by the Bank of Italy. Smaller amounts were handled through WeChat and Alipay, China-based apps that allow for money transfers via credit cards. Larger amounts, meanwhile, would advance through bank accounts opened in China. Then they would withdraw cash in Italian branches and physically transport it to the mainland. Criminals also use luxury goods for transactions. Collaborators buy them for people in China. Those people in turn would receive the goods and pay the relevant sum. That way, cash withdrawn in Italy never needs to be transferred to China. You can see now how there was a 99% drop in wire transfers between Italy and China. And get this, now the Italian mafias are learning from China, and they're teaming up. I'll tell you more after the break. Welcome back. Given that China works with the Mexican drug cartels in the Americas, China working with the Italian mafia doesn't surprise me. Together, they'll make you an offer you can't refuse. Chinese brokers are helping Italian mafias funnel cash. Italian authorities have announced at least 6 investigations involving drug gangs and the Chinese payment networks since the issue first publicly came to light. And according to Reuters sources, there are about a dozen more that haven't been made public. It makes sense for the Italian mafia to work with Chinese criminals. After all, they have support from the government of China. The Chinese regime will help cover up the crimes. It's like instead of having a corrupt mayor in your pocket, you have the second largest economy in the world on your side. Fortunately, Italian authorities are starting to fight back. One of the first cases of an Italian mafia using Chinese money brokers that came to light was the Calabrian 'Ndrangheta group, one of the largest crime gangs in the world. It's 100 years old. Italian authorities found out they were using Hong Kong as a base for financial crimes. In the end, 90 people were arrested in Italy and elsewhere in Europe, and they seized 4 tons of cocaine, worth over $260 million. Here's another case. The chief prosecutor of the Italian Referees Association was arrested in connection with a massive drug operation in Milan. And guess who was laundering the money? A Chinese intermediary. There are a lot of examples, so I won't give them all. But the situation is so bad, the Italian government activated the Anti-Mafia Commission to investigate Chinese infiltration in Italian society. That commission was originally created to go after the Italian mafia in Sicily. But Chinese shadow banks have become so pervasive that they had to start looking into them too. Even the rest of Europe is taking note. Remember the 2 Chinese nationals involved with that electronics shop I mentioned earlier? Well, they were part of a much larger Chinese shadow banking system. And after Italian authorities started looking into it, they found branches in Rome, Florence, and a bunch of other Italian cities. And now, Europol is looking into it to see if it has branches in the rest of Europe. I wonder what they'll find. And this show would not exist without support from viewers like you. YouTube frequently demonetizes, suppresses, and secretly unsubscribes people from this channel. If you want to support the show, you can join what I call the China Uncensored 50-cent army by contributing to the show on Patreon. You'll get a bunch of cool perks, including the ability to ask me questions I'll answer on the show. Today's question comes from Ian Pendleton. I personally would start the war by using multiple massive cyber attacks all at once to overwhelm the Great Firewall and prevent it from being reformed, at least not for a long time. Do you think America's capable of that, or are there issues with that strategy that I don't know about? An excellent idea, Ian, especially because the US helped build China's Great Firewall. If you don't know, the Great Firewall is basically the way China censors the internet. And China relied on 2 US companies, Cisco Systems and Juniper Networks, to help carry out its network upgrade. In fact, Cisco equipment provides the backbone of China's internet support. Now that article was from 2011, so it's very possible China's homegrown tech companies using stolen US tech has got it covered now. But Cisco did see the Great Firewall as a great way to sell more routers. The Great Firewall is one of the most important tools the CCP has to brainwash Chinese people. If that collapsed, the CCP would have a big issue on their hands. Is the US capable of that? I can't say for sure. I do know the CCP would respond with its own cyber attacks on the US. I mean, China is already using cyber warfare. In fact, it's been on the rise. But it could get a lot worse. China could take out the US power grid. That's not far-fetched. China has already attacked India's power grid. So I doubt the US would attack China's Great Firewall unless there was already a war going on. Thanks for your question and your support, Ian. And thank you for watching. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.